This is Part 2, Episode 96. Heavenly Mountain Range. Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool. These two names caused Xiao Yan to be startled. Not because they were foreign, but because he had already heard these terms over a dozen times since he had entered the city. However, he was not aware of the mysteries they referred to. The old man was also startled when he saw Xiao Yan's expression. He asked in surprise, "Does young brother not even know about the Heavenly Mountain Range and the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool?" "Young brother, the old me is doing this for your own good. The effects of the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool might be mysterious, but it can, at the very most, be used by 10 people. In other words, if you arrive at the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool after those 10 people, you can only look at the empty blood pool and wait another 3 years," the old man hurriedly added when he saw that Xiao Yan did not declare his intentions. "Oh." Xiao Yan was also startled when he heard these words. Immediately, he nodded with a smile. If this was really the case, he should really make a move ahead of schedule. The effects of the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool were mysterious. There would definitely be many experts attracted by it. If he were to arrive too late, he might really have to wait another 3 years. The old man immediately rejoiced when he saw Xiao Yan nodding his head. He joyfully took out a map and muttered in his heart with a grin, "I have ripped off another wealthy person. How many has there been today?" Xiao Yan was naturally unaware of the old man's inner thoughts. Moreover, even if he knew about them, he would be too lazy to find fault with the other party. This map might not be worth so much money, but in his opinion, the situation regarding the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool was worth far more than money. Xiao Yan randomly paid the gold coins and put the map into his storage ring. After which, he walked out of the shop in front of the old man's smiling eyes. After having exited the shop, Xiao Yan made a trip around some medicinal shops. It was not a futile one. At the very least, he had managed to obtain the water spirit lotus seed that he needed to refine the soul cleansing pill. Although it was quite expensive, it was naturally nothing to remiss for someone like Xiao Yan, who was in a hurry to remove the remnant spiritual imprint in his body. After roaming once around the bone-transforming city and inquiring about more information, Xiao Yan had a much greater understanding of the so-called Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool. That old man had not deceived him. A month later, the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool would appear again. Moreover, there were currently a countless number of people from the northern region hurrying to the Heavenly Mountain Range. Xiao Yan stopped in front of an inn in the city. He looked at the many people on the street. There were many people present here whose target was the Heavenly Mountain Range. "I will get moving and head to the Heavenly Mountain Range tomorrow after resting for the night here. If I am able to be the first 10 to enter the Heaven Mountain Blood Pool, there is a chance that it might help me break through to the Do Zone class." Xiao Yan's heart became boiling hot when he thought of the possibility of him breaking through. This Central Plains was really worthy of being in the middle of the Do Chi continent. Such a mysterious matter would seldom occur in other places. However, it had appeared here. Xiao Yan naturally did not intend to give it up. It is rumored that the Wind Lightning Pavilion, 10,000 Sword Pavilion, and other stronger factions have dispatched their core elites to head to the Heavenly Mountain Range. From the looks of it, they are clearly targeting the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool. Damn it, with these fellows participating, there will be fewer and fewer of the 10 spots left. Not everyone can enter the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool. Hey, what can we do? The other parties are great factions. It is best for those without ability to not participate in this matter. Otherwise, one would not only fail to benefit, one would also get into trouble. Xiao Yan frowned involuntarily when he heard this. It was unexpected that the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool also possessed an allure to a faction like the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Would he not end up attracting trouble if he headed out and ended up meeting them? The 4 pavilions in the Central Plains will conduct a competition called the 4 Pavilion Heaven every few years. Those who participate in this competition are the most outstanding members of the younger generation within each pavilion. It is likely that the Wind Lightning Pavilion and the 10,000 Sword Pavilion are heading to the Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool in preparation for it. I wonder if the Yellow Spring Pavilion and the Falling Star Pavilion will participate. The Heavenly Mountain Blood Pool does not have much of an effect on those old fellows. It is a treasure for the younger generation. By soaking in it, one would not only be able to wash one's bones, but it might even be able to help one break through. There are only a couple of months left before this season's 4 Pavilion Heaven. If one could break through at this moment, the pavilion's chances of victory would greatly soar. A somewhat skinny-looking man coldly laughed. it is rumored that there is a Miss Feng in the Wind Lightning Pavilion, who has an extremely frightening training talent. There are even rumors that she will be the next pavilion head of the Eastern Pavilion. Moreover, the 10,000 Sword Pavilion is also quite strong. Tang Ying, who is known as Sky Fountain Sword, uses extremely mysterious, skillful sword techniques. He is even able to exchange blows with some of the experts from the older generation. They could be called the top of the younger generation in the northern region. I wonder who will win if they end up meeting in a fight. Kai, these two people might be strong, but they seem to be a little inferior when compared to the recent individual called Xiao Yan. The Central Plains are filled with hidden talents. Who dares to call himself the strongest? A man with a scar on his face laughed. Xiao Yang. Is he the one who killed Chen Yun from the Wind Lightning Pavilion and forcefully broke the 9 heavenly lightning prison formation the remaining 3 elders had set up? He, that's right. All of you did not see the big battle in Tian Bay City back then. That was damn interesting. That fellow looked to be only in his 20s, but his strength was absolutely terrifying. He relied on his own strength to fight against 3 great dozongs. Moreover, the ancestor of the Hong clan, Hong Tianxiao, also came to an extremely miserable end. Who are Miss Feng and Tang Ying compared to him? You cannot put it this way. Although that Xiao Yang is very strong, Miss Feng and Tang Ying are not weak either. According to what I know, Xiao Yang used a kind of unknown secret technique back then to forcefully raise his strength. Otherwise, he would have difficulty fighting against 3 great dozongs. Xiao Yang was involuntarily startled when he heard the conversation suddenly focus on him. He immediately let out a bitter smile, took out a doping from his storage ring and quietly put it on his head. He did not wish to end up exposing his identity, attracting unnecessary trouble. Xiao Yang listened for a little longer, and was planning to leave when a silver-colored figure slowly appeared on the stairs of the inn. After which, the figure climbed to the 2nd floor. The 2nd story of the inn had become a lot quieter following the appearance of this silver-colored figure. An aura that caused one to feel pressure vaguely seeped out of the figure's body. At a glance, one could tell that this figure was not an ordinary person. It was difficult to tell the age of the silver-colored human figure. His face seemed somewhat young, but his hair was an old white color that faintly gave him an elderly appearance. The most shocking thing was that this person possessed a pair of extremely rare white-colored eyes. On the surface, however, Xiao Yang remained impassive. He smiled and said, "I did not reserve the seat you. You can sit if you want to. However, I still have some other matters to deal with and cannot stay for long. Goodbye. You are not afraid of the 9 heavenly lightning prison formation that the 3 elders from the Wind Lightning Northern Pavilion formed. Don't tell me that you are afraid of me." The silver-colored human figure smiled. His voice had suddenly become a lot louder and clearer, suppressing all the noise on the 2nd floor of the inn. Immediately, numerous stunned gazes were thrown over before pausing on Xiao Yang. Don't tell me that he is Xiao Yang. The expression under the doping had gradually become darker and more solemn. Xiao Yang's eyes stared at the silver-colored human figure opposite him as he slowly asked, "Just what great being are you? Tell me your name." Hiding around is not the style of a skilled person. Ha, I cannot be considered a skilled person. The reason I have come here is mainly to demand something from you. The silver-robed man lifted his wine cup and laughed. What thing? Xiao Yang narrowed his eyes. The dou qi within his body had slowly begun circulating. As the saying went, those who come do not have good intent and those with good intent do not come. This person was clearly targeting him. Moreover, from this manner of his, it was likely that he was not here to make friends. 3,000 lightning illusionary body. The silver-robed man smiled faintly to Xiao Yang. However, his soft voice caused Xiao Yang to suddenly stand up. A deep voice demanded, "You are someone from the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Other people call the old me Qian Lei Zi." The silver-robed man's finger was inserted into the cup and a lightning arc shuttled around the cup like a small snake. Qian Lei Zi, Fei Qian, the pavilion head of the Wind Lightning Northern Pavilion. The silver-robed man's words had just sounded when waves of the sound wine cups make while falling appeared. Immediately, numerous shocked exclamations were involuntarily emitted. Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly shrank when he heard the final few words, "Head of the Wind Lightning Northern Pavilion." The heavy Xian ruler had appeared like a reflex action. His ruler violently hacked at the head of the silver-robed man in a violent manner. A sonic boom was formed on the ruler, shattering the table into powder despite being some distance away. it is really a little rude to treat an old man like you do. The silver-robed man faintly smiled. His finger was gently flicked and a bright lightning glow shot out from it. It collided with the heavy ruler. The lightning glow was just like a poisonous snake that burrowed into Xiao Yang's hand. Xiao Yang let out a cold snort when he saw this. A jade-green flame surged out of his hand and collided with the lightning glow. A thunderclap sounded and both were eliminated. It is indeed a heavenly flame. However, given my eyesight, I am unable to see where it belongs to on the heavenly flame ranking. Surprise flashed across the silver-robed man's eyes when he saw the jade-green flame. He whispered. Xiao Yang swiftly stored away his heavy ruler after his futile attack. His body trembled and a rumbling thunder sounded and his body charged out of the window. With a shake of his back, the bone wings were extended. Finally, he transformed into a ray of light that shot out of the city with a swoosh sound. The frightening speed left anyone watching speechless. It is indeed the 3000 lightning movement. That silver-robed man was not in a hurry to give chase when he saw Xiao Yang flee. He drank all of the wine in the wine pot in one go before slowly standing up. The corner of his mouth was lifted into a cold smile as he looked in the direction Xiao Yang had fled. Little fellow, you won't be able to escape. It is indeed as Elder Lei and the others described. You possess a couple of heavenly flames in your body. If I have guessed correctly, the jade-green heavenly flame, which I have never seen before, should be something formed from the merger of heavenly flames. Only after Fei Qian disappeared did the completely silent second story of the inn gradually recover. Everyone looked at each other with shock. It was unexpected that they would actually meet this legendary old demon today. Moreover, they were also extremely surprised that this old demon was personally chasing Xiao Yang. It is likely that the little fellow is going to be extremely unlucky this time around. This old demon Fei Qian is rumored to have become an 8-star dozong a number of years ago. However, by being able to get this old demon Fei Qian to act personally, it is already sufficient for his name to be known throughout the entire northern region. Such a treatment is not something an ordinary person can enjoy. There were some sighs vaguely emitted from the crowd. A ray of light rushed outside bone-transforming city in a lightning-like manner. In the blink of an eye, it charged into the mountain range that was outside of the city. Xiao Yang activated his bone wings to their maximum strength, raising his speed to a frightening extent. His expression was a little gloomy as his figure rushed forward. Although he did not sense Fei Qian giving chase, he did not think that young-looking old fellow would give up so easily. Just how did this old fellow find me? I have been traveling through the deep mountains and old forests during this period of time. It is impossible for the people from the Wind Lightning Pavilion to discover me. Some doubt appeared in Xiao Yang's heart as his figure flashed. The northern region of the Central Plains was so large. Regardless of how capable Fei Qian was, it was impossible for this person to find him in a sea of people without reason. Moreover, looking at his manner earlier, it was clear that this person was already aware of his position. Could he have been discovered by the spies from the Wind Lightning Pavilion when he had entered the city yesterday? Even if that was the case, this place was already beyond the territory of the Wind Lightning Pavilion. It was impossible for a spy from the Wind Lightning Pavilion to pass the information back to the Wind Lightning Pavilion within a day even if that spy had discovered him. Doubt appeared in Xiao Yang's heart. He involuntarily felt a sense of danger. That fellow might appear like a light breeze, but he actually gave Xiao Yang a dangerous feeling. This kind of feeling was something that Xiao Yang had seldom sensed on anyone except the unfathomable Qian by elders and the old ground demon ghost. This old fellow's strength is at least that of an 8-star dozong. Even if I used Qian Huazunja's strength, it would be difficult for me to face him head-on unless I used the extermination fire lotus, but that is ultimately my life preservation skill. Unless it is absolutely necessary, it is best not to use it. These thoughts flew swiftly across Xiao Yang's heart. However, his speed was not the least bit reduced. His body was just like a meteorite that disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. That old fellow has really given up chasing after me. Xiao Yang flew wildly for nearly 10+ minutes. His eyebrows were knit even more tightly when he saw that no one had given chase. Finally, he muttered in a soft voice, "The old me said that you won't be able to escape." A faint laugh was suddenly transmitted from a distance while Xiao Yang was softly muttering to himself. His body stiffened. Immediately, his eyes shrank and locked onto a mountain peak in front of him. The silver-robed Fei Qian was standing there with his hands behind his back. His silver-white eyes were mocking Xiao Yang. "This old fellow's speed is really frightening." Xiao Yan inhaled a breath of cool air. His expression had become solemn. It seemed that there would likely be some trouble today. You might possess the 3000 lightning movement and those mysterious bone wings. However, you have chosen the wrong target if you wish to compete with the old me in terms of speed. Fei Qian smiled as he spoke. Just what are you planning to do? Xiao Yang cried out in a deep voice. His eyes swept all around him without leaving a trace, searching for a route to flee. Hand over the 3000 lightning illusionary body to the old me. You might have gathered the 4 scrolls, but it is still impossible for you to practice it. Hence, it is a waste leaving them on you. Fei Qian spoke in a faint voice. You will allow me to leave if I return the 3000 lightning illusionary body to you. Xiao Yang's eyes narrowed as he slowly asked. Fei Qian merely smiled when he heard this. He gently stepped forward and his body appeared 100 meters away from Xiao Yang in a strange manner. He laughed. The old me is also interested in your chi method that can merge heavenly flames. I might let you go if you hand it over to me. Xiao Yang's expression had completely turned gloomy when he heard these words. Flame mantra was his greatest support. The reason he had been able to reach this level today was largely because of flame mantra. If this fellow wanted to snatch flame mantra from him, it was little different than taking his life away. Moreover, it was impossible for Xiao Yang to hand over such a mysterious chi method like the flame mantra to an outsider, and the wind lightning pavilion could be considered his enemy. It has been many years since I have fought with someone. Allow me to test your skills today. Tian Huazunja's somewhat illusionary figure slowly appeared in front of Fei Qian. He clenched his hand and a long sword that was agglomerated from spiritual strength appeared. Regardless of how you block me, he will ultimately be unable to escape my palm, Fei Qian coldly laughed. His body shook and a bright lightning glow surged of him in a cackling manner. Following the appearance of the lightning glow, the clouds in the sky above gradually became dark. Silver serpent-like lightning was vaguely shuttling within it. This old demon had actually reached the stage where he could use his own do chi to communicate with natural energy. Fei Qian's hand reached forward. A lightning glow flashed and a long spear that was agglomerated from lightning appeared with a kai-kai sound. The body of the spear shook along with space itself. Tian Huazunja was not afraid despite seeing this strong skill of Fei Qian. He let out a loud laugh as his majestic spiritual strength swept out. His body moved and the spiritual longsword pierced forward while forming numerous spiritual ripples. Fei Qian laughed in the face of Tian Huazunja's attack. The lightning spear in his hand carried an incomparable lightning do chi, which emitted a repeated kai-kai sound. Finally, it was violently swung out, clang. The clear sound of a collision resounded across the entire sky. In the face of this strange sonic wave, some of the weaker magical beast in the mountain range below felt a crack in their head before bursting apart. Tihi's strength that was exchanged between the two was actually this terrifying. Xiao Yang's figure was rushing forward like a ray of light. He had also sensed a little of the change in the sky far behind him. However, he did not turn around. Tian Huazunja had put in a great amount of effort to buy him some time. Turning around would be the most foolish decision. Old bastard, I shall remember today's grudge. I will definitely repay you in the future. Xiao Yang clenched his teeth. His expression was a little ferocious. That old fellow had actually targeted the flame mantra. This had completely infuriated Xiao Yang. Killing intent churned in Xiao Yang's heart. However, his speed was not reduced by even a little. With a swoosh sound, the light ray flew across the sky, instantly disappearing on the edge of the mountain range. This all-out flying continued for nearly 20 minutes, or so when the space in front of Xiao Yang became distorted. Immediately, a spiritual strength came out of the space. It was surprisingly Tian Huazunja, who had stayed behind to block Fei Qian earlier. At this moment, Tian Huazunja's expression was a little solemn. His figure also seemed paler than it had been earlier. From the looks of it, he had experienced a violent fight with that old demon Fei Qian during these 20 minutes. Leave quickly. Teleportation through space is something that only an elite Dozun can do. If I had not reached the Dozun level and am currently a spiritual body, it is likely that I would have difficulty using it. However, that fellow's speed is extremely frightening. It is likely that he will catch up within a short while. Tian Huazunja urged in an anxious voice the moment he appeared. The space in the sky above a lush green mountain range fluctuated. Soon after, a silver-colored figure slowly appeared. Fei Qian's expression suddenly changed as his figure appeared. He discovered that the thread of spiritual feeling had been split into 4. Moreover, each of them was flying in a different direction. As he discovered it, this brat is actually willing to abandon such a treasure. The smile on Fei Qian's face slowly turned gloomy. The reason he had been able to accurately tell Xiao Yang's location earlier was because he was relying on the special imprint within those 4 scrolls. It was unexpected that this was also discovered by Xiao Yang. Moreover, they were abandoned in such a decisive fashion. Fei Qian's gaze was gloomy as he elted off into the distance in front of him. He knew that Xiao Yang was fleeing that way. However, if he were to continue giving chase, it was likely that those 3,000 lightning illusionary body would fall into the hands of others. Thus, there would be some other troubles. If he were to allow Xiao Yang to escape, however, he would have difficulty calming his anger. Moreover, he was also extremely interested in the mysterious qi method Xiao Yang practiced, that could merge heavenly flames. Fei Qian gently exhaled a breath of air as his eyes flickered slightly. He spoke in a dense voice, "Brat, if you think that you can shake me off with such a simple trick, it is likely that you have really underestimated this chief." Fei Qian's hand seal suddenly moved when his words sounded. Dazzling unusual seals were formed in a lightning-like manner. His expression was stern as he coldly cried out, 3,000 lightning illusionary body. Appear. An invisible strength suddenly surged from Fei Qian's body after his cry sounded. A strange fluctuation occurred, agglomerating into an avatar that was exactly the same as Fei Qian. The thing that was most shocking was that the aura of this avatar was also extremely powerful. Although it was inferior to the actual Fei Qian, it was also an elite Do Zone which far exceeded the strength of the 4 great elders from the Wind Lightning Northern Pavilion. Unfortunately, my 3,000 lightning illusionary body has yet to reach complete mastery. Regardless of how cunning that fellow is, he will have difficulty escaping alive. Fei Qian looked at the avatar beside him and shook his head. He faintly commanded, "You will go and chase after that brat. I will go and chase after those scrolls. There is no need for you to fight head-on against them. All you need to do is delay them. Relax." Fei Qian's avatar let out a faint smile. His expression was exactly the same as the actual body. Moreover, his silver-white eyes were filled with an intelligence. It was completely different than the emptiness the other avatar had. It seemed that this 3,000 lightning illusionary body had some profoundness to it. It was indeed worthy of a mysterious Do skill that was comparable to a Qian-class Qi method. Fei Qian nodded. He ceased speaking as he turned around. Space trembled and his body slowly disappeared. Following the disappearance of Fei Qian's body, that avatar also turned his head and threw his gaze in the direction Xiao Yang was fleeing. He let out a cold laugh as his body emitted a bang and transformed into nothing. A ray of light flashed through the completely clear sky, while the faint sound of thunder was emitted from it. Fei Qian's aura is gradually disappearing. It is likely that he has gone to pursue the 4 scrolls. There is indeed a problem with those things. Xiao Yang glanced behind him while he was flying with all his might. He sighed in relief. Although it was a pity to toss those things aside, it was fortunate that he had already remembered all the contents in his mind. Yes, his aura has indeed headed in another direction. It seems that we have shaken him off, be careful. Tian Huazunja's words had just sounded when his voice suddenly changed. Immediately, a powerful spiritual strength surged out of the snow-white ring and violently smashed against empty space. Bang. The empty space where the spiritual strength collided immediately fluctuated. The space became distorted and a figure with a vague lightning glow lingering over it slowly appeared. It was surprisingly Fei Qian. Xiao Yang's expression also suddenly changed. His figure instantly pulled back. He had never expected this fellow to actually give chase. The old me said that you will never be able to escape from my hands. Fei Qian's eyes were ice cold. He stared at Xiao Yang as he slowly spoke. Xiao Yang clenched his fist slightly and coldly smiled. It seems that you really do not want the 3,000 lightning illusionary body scrolls. Fei Qian merely smiled when he heard this. His smile contained a little ridicule as he said, "The scrolls will return and you will also not be able to escape. Something's wrong. This fellow's aura is much weaker and is far from what he was earlier. The current him is at most a 6-star Do Zone." Tian Huazunja's spirit suddenly appeared. He frowned, looked at Fei Qian, and spoke in a solemn voice. Xiao Yang's eyes narrowed. A thought passed through his heart before he involuntarily cried out, 3,000 lightning illusionary body. He is merely an avatar of Fei Qian. It looks like you do have some understanding of the 3000 lightning illusionary body. Fei Qian laughed. Kill him, he is delaying time. Fei Qian's actual body has definitely gone to pursue those scrolls. Once the actual body hurries over, we will really be unable to escape. Xiao Yang hurriedly said. Xiao Yang's voice had just sounded when Tian Huozunja by the side rushed out with a swoosh sound. Majestic spiritual strength surged out and shook the entire space until it fluctuated. You wish to escape? Xiao Yang merely laughed upon seeing this. After borrowing Tian Huozunja's spiritual strength, Xiao Yang's strength was already no longer weaker than Fei Qian's avatar. The seal he formed with his hands changed and the speed of the fire python soared. Finally, it ruthlessly smashed into Fei Qian's body in a lightning-like manner. Bang! The fire python collided with Fei Qian's avatar, and the lightning glow covering his body immediately vanished. Before he could retreat, an invisible fire python quickly gave chase and once again ruthlessly collided with him. Having lost the protection of the lightning glow, Fei Qian's avatar ended up colliding head-on with the fallen heart flame. Immediately, he emitted a miserable cry and the avatar swiftly became much paler. Bang! 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 Xiao Yang's hands danced. He did not give up this opportunity to beat Fei Qian up when he was down. A couple of fire pythons, formed from the fallen heart flame, shot out and crashed into Fei Qian's avatar, sending him back a couple hundred meters. When the final fire python exploded on Fei Qian's body, Xiao Yang's figure also vanished in a strange fashion. The next time he appeared, Xiao Yang was already in front of the illusionary Fei Qian. He coldly laughed. It's over. Xiao Yang's voice sounded as his fist, which was wrapped in a dense fallen heart flame, violently struck out. It penetrated Fei Qian's avatar's chest. Little bastard, you will not be able to escape. Fei Qian's figure swiftly became illusionary under the grilling of the fallen heart flame, as he shouted with a savage face. Xiao Yang was expressionless. His hand was tightened and Fei Qian's avatar suddenly exploded, transforming into illusionary light that scattered. Xiao Yang seemed to have understood something as he watched the scattering light spots. He reached out and an invisible energy shot out of the light spot. This energy was accurately pulled toward Xiao Yang's hand. The invisible energy had just landed in Xiao Yang's hand when it transformed into information that entered his palm and invaded his mind. With the entrance of this information, the lightning words in Xiao Yang's mind, that had been difficult to unravel, immediately emitted an intense glow. A moment later, the glow weakened and a complete training method slowly appeared. Xiao Yang's mind was a little dull as he stares at this complete training method that had appeared. His heart suddenly pounded. It was unexpected that he had unintentionally obtained the key to open the 3000 lightning illusionary body from Fei Qian's avatar. Old fellow, haha, thank you for your gift. I will repay you this favor in the future. Xiao Yang was dull for a moment before he uncontrollably laughed in the sky. His body moved, transforming into a ray of light that swiftly disappeared into the horizon. The space rippled slightly a couple of minutes after Xiao Yang disappeared. A ferocious-looking Fei Qian slowly appeared. His gaze swept all around him, but he had completely lost Xiao Yang's aura. Immediately, his furious roar resounded over the mountain forest. Brat! I will take your life the next time we meet. A human figure, concealed under dense tree branches within a thick forest, revealed a pair of eyes that stared intently at the sky. His aura was completely hidden under a majestic spiritual strength. Although Xiao Yang had escaped the area Fei Qian could sense him, he clearly knew just how frightening this old fellow's speed was. Hence, he immediately changed directions after having left the scope of Fei Qian's sensing abilities, and had swiftly entered the forest. After which, he borrowed Tian Huozunja's strength and perfectly hid his aura. It had been over 10 minutes since Xiao Yang had concealed himself in this place. During this period of time, he had remained as still as a statue. His entire body was covered by lush green leaves. This, along with the concealment of his aura, would likely make it extremely difficult for Fei Qian to detect him despite his great strength. Such a quiet wait continued for a couple of minutes when the distant sky suddenly rippled. Immediately, a ferocious-looking Fei Qian appeared. His dense gaze slowly swept over the forest below before letting out a furious roar. With a violent wave of his sleeve, a majestic Do Chi pillar shot out and flattened the forest within a 100-meter radius. Only after he had vented his anger did his gaze viciously turn to another direction. His body moved and slowly disappeared. Xiao Yang did not move even a little ever since Fei Qian appeared and disappeared. He knew just how frightening an 8-star do zone was. His perception was so sharp that it was terrifying. Any slight movement would alert him. Moreover, with Fei Qian's speed, there would be little opportunity to flee upon being discovered. Xiao Yang still maintained his completely still position after Fei Qian left. This continued for around 2 hours, or so before his body slightly moved. Xiao Yang gently leaped down from the tree branch and landed on the ground without emitting the slightest noise. He cautiously swept his gaze around him when he landed. Only then did he transform into a blurry figure that swiftly entered deep into the forest. Xiao Yang shuttled through the forest for a while. He tried his best to dodge the magical beasts he met along the way. Those he was unable to dodge were quickly finished off. Xiao Yang would kill the beast before it could emit a roar. After shuffling through the forest, a mountain peak finally appeared in front of him. Xiao Yang agilely leaped toward the mountain peak. He found a safe place halfway up the mountain. Only then did he sigh in relief, appearing to have released a great burden as he did so. He sat down in a manner that seemed to indicate that he had collapsed from exhaustion. The chase today had really caused his mind to completely tense up. Today was perhaps the most dangerous experience Xiao Yang had faced since he had arrived in the Central Plains. If he had not decisively tossed aside the scrolls, it was likely that he would have difficulty fleeing from Fei Qian. Unless Xiao Yang used the extermination fire lotus, he would have a difficult time defeating an 8-star do zone. However, the extermination lotus flame was a powerful killing move and would exhaust him. Once it was displayed, Xiao Yang would enter his weakest state. Hence, unless it came to a critical point where he had no choice, Xiao Yang would not use it. Moreover, Xiao Yang was restricted to only one extermination fire lotus because of the amount of life-transforming flame that he had left. Additionally, Xiao Yang did not have the time to practice that flame creation skill. He had also not refined a new life-transforming flame. Hence, he could use such a killing move to preserve his life only once during this short period of time. Looks like I will need to find an opportunity to practice the flame creation skill. That little life-transforming flame is really insufficient. Xiao Yang sighed and sat down. He let out a deep breath and summoned the earth demon puppet with a wave of his hand. He ordered it to guard him before he gradually shut his eyes and began to carefully study the 3000 lightning illusionary body training method that had already changed its shape within his head. Due to the information from Fei Qian's spirit, the profound and difficult to understand lightning words within Xiao Yang's mind had been unraveled. Replacing the jumbled mess was a complete training method Xiao Yang could use. Time quickly flew by while Xiao Yang's heart slowly sank into the 3000 lightning illusionary body training method. It appeared as though only an instant had passed. Yet, the night sky in the outside world had already turned completely dark. Within the darkness, Xiao Yang, who had not moved for an entire night, finally shook his hand. He slowly opened his eyes. Some astonishment was visible in them. A couple of afterimages immediately appeared behind Xiao Yang after his body shot out. His footsteps paused and hurriedly turned his head around, only to see the afterimages gradually disappearing. The situation that was mentioned in the training method did not occur. The agglomeration of an avatar is indeed difficult. Xiao Yang frowned slightly. His mouth softly muttered the requirements recorded in the training method, using one's heart to form the shape and leave one's spirit within the figure. Xiao Yang repeated this over a dozen times. Suddenly, he understood something. His eyes were slowly shut, and his foot gently stepped forward. When his feet landed, his body appeared dozens of meters away in a lightning-like manner. 4 afterimages were left behind along the way. 3 of the 4 afterimages swiftly scattered. However, the rate the last afterimage was disappearing was much slower. However, it remained for only around 20 seconds, or so before it slowly turned into nothingness. Xiao Yang could vaguely sense a thread of extremely slight spiritual ripple from the interior of this afterimage. I must leave a thread of spiritual strength within the afterimage the moment that it appears. Only then will it be possible to form an afterimage. However, one must be extremely fast at that moment. Otherwise, how could it be possible to leave behind a spirit within the afterimage in time? Xiao Yang frowned and muttered. Xiao Yang thought bitterly for a while, and could only softly sigh after his futile attempt. The training of this 3000 lightning illusionary body was indeed difficult. However, he would not give up so simply. He had confidence in himself. Regardless of how difficult it was to practice this 3000 lightning movement, he would successfully learn it. When he meet that old fellow Fei Tian the next time around, he wondered if that old fellow would end up vomiting blood in anger after he created an avatar. There is still around a month or so until the energy tide in the Heaven Eye mountain range. I will walk through this mountain range during this period of time. I should be able to reach there beforehand. Xiao Yang rested for a moment before once again recovering his focus. He looked at the end of the mountain range and muttered to himself. Quite a number of magical beasts were hidden within this mountain range. There was no lack of strong magical beasts among them. This place surpassed the Jioma Empire's magical beast mountain range in every way. Xiao Yang planned to engage in a bitter training regimen during this period of time. He would use this opportunity to practice the 3000 lightning illusionary body and attempt to quickly agglomerate an avatar as soon as possible. Moreover, the life and death battle with magical beasts would have a big impact on the increase of his strength. Xiao Yang smiled after making up his mind within his heart. This caused him to recall the memory of how he had left Wutan City and headed to the magical beast mountain range to train back then. At that time, he was a little fellow who had just become a doja. Yet, the doja who had just stepped into the training world back then had currently reached the level of a 9-star do huang. There was indeed a kind of dream-like feeling when he thought about it. Xiao Yang's figure leaped to the mountain top. He looked down at the vast mountain range and heard numerous magical beast roars being emitted from within. He involuntarily howled toward the sky. With a swoop, he rushed down like a giant bird and charged into the mountain range densely populated by magical beasts. Ha ha. The clear laugh that remained in the sky represented the beginning of Xiao Yang's bitter training in the